attorney. Back on air.
Hey players. That's my pacemaker. All right, it goes. Keeps me ticking. Can you prep one out for?
Okay, everyone ready? Commissioners ready? Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing concerning amendments to the Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure will be as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. After everyone who wishes to speak has done so, the hearing will close. The commissioners may then discuss the issue, and they may take action that they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of the proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliberate at a later date. And now I'd like to ask Jill Baker, our Deputy Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning, to present the information. Good morning. How are you, Ms. Baker?
Good morning, Commissioners. Doing well, thank you. As stated, my name is Jill Baker. I am Deputy Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning here for the county. I am here today to present an amendment to our current Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan. I was here earlier this year to get approval for this document, and we did adopt a new parks plan. Just to refresh your memory, this plan is typically updated on a 3-year cycle. That's required by Maryland state law. The preparation and update of this document is a prerequisite for county participation in the Maryland local side open space program. This program provides annual grants for the acquisition of land for conservation and park purposes, as well as the maintenance and development of new parks. The reason that we are here today is because the plan that we had submitted to the state was actually approved by the state. However, I think they had some misinterpretation problems about how we were wording our document. The typical old style plan went by a matrix of so many parklands per population, and they changed that this year, and there's been a lot of confusion over what the new matrix really is. So, metric really is. So, while they approved the plan, they had approved the plan stating that the county had not met its land acquisition goal. We disputed that with the state. We've had numerous conversations back and forth with Maryland Department of Natural Resources, who is the department responsible for handling this. And we submitted some new information to them that has appeased their concerns with regard to the acquisition goals. The reason that we want to make sure that this is very clear is that it does have an impact on our funding ratios. Not how much money we're getting, we still get the same amount of money, but if they find that we don't meet our acquisition goals, we have to spend more money on acquisition, and that requires a larger local match. So we felt it was very important to note the fact that we do feel like we're meeting our acquisition goals, and that we need more funding right now for the development and maintenance of our existing parks. So we put together this amendment. It has been reviewed by the Maryland Department of Natural Resources and found to be acceptable, and it has been advertised for a public hearing 2 weeks prior to this meeting. In your package, you will find copies of the pages that have been amended, along with the actual park proximity map. This is the heart of the plan, showing where our park locations are and the fact that they meet acceptable distances for access to our general public. because of the nature of the POS funding, they are currently holding our funding pending this adoption. So if you deem it appropriate, we would ask for adoption today, if you see fit after the public comment process. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, or if you'd just like to go to the public comment. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we will now open the hearing for public comment. Do we have anyone here today care to testify? Okay, we have no one here to testify. Do the commissioners have any questions?
The recent acquisition, I think the town of Funkstown, with the farmland, and does the county participate in that as far as cooperation or getting credit for that?
Yes, we do the county as a whole, so that includes any municipal and town parks as well, yes. So that's included in there. Yeah, I'll defer that to Jim Sterling, who is our Public Works Director. I believe you're talking about the proposed North End Park out there. Okay, if I could defer that.
The ICC land. And there was an article in the paper, I think Sunday, referenced that where we're still moving forward with. We have accepted that yet. I don't think we have.
Yeah, that was a long-term lease.
That would be, Scott can speak more to that.
We are working through an agreement with our Eastern Boulevard widening project and extended that goes in behind the YMCA. It's approximately 90 acres of land that will be a future park. In the CIP, there's a North County Regional Park listed for out years, and that's what we're working on. We're updating the agreement. Back a few years ago, it was signed by the city of Hagerstown, the county, and Wholesome to provide that land for a park and our future widening and then new road there to the north.
And that is included within our parks plan that we propose to acquire that, yes. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? Public hearing is now concluded. Comments, you all want to move forward today, or you want to bring it back?
I'm okay moving forward. Me too. It's a motion.
Okay, so Commissioner Klein made a motion, Commissioner
Second.
Martin made a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just one really quick added point. Our funding does include impacts to our local towns as well. They always do get a portion of this funding, so we will be moving forward with that. Thank you.
Commissioners' reports and comments. Commissioner Myers.
I don't have any comments for the county. I just publicly wanted to, I was out last week, and where I was is at the Paris Island in South Carolina, and I had the great honor of being at the graduation of my stepdaughter, Kayla Flanagan, who graduated from basic boot camp for the U.S. Marine. Very proud of her. I went through basic in the Army back in the 70s, back years ago, and I know firsthand what I went through, but I'll tell you, what these Marines go through down there in Paris Island is just incredible. Especially she went through for all the days she was in boot camp, it was never below 90 one day, plus the humidity, plus the sand fleas and everything else. So my hat's off to her and all of our Marines that we, past and present, that we know of.
Thank you. Commissioner Kiefer.
No comment other than congratulations to Taylor.
Commissioner Barr.
Yes, good morning, thank you. And my absence, I hope, was an excused absence last Tuesday. I was attending along with Phil Ridenour and Peggy Seiler. The three of us attended the Allegiant Air Conference in Savannah, Georgia. I think we had some good meetings with Allegiant, particularly our one-on-ones. We did continue to push for other destinations and more routes in and out of Hagerstown. Obviously, nothing confirmed, but I think looking towards Phil's retirement and handing the baton off, we've got a lot of good dialogue with Allegiant. We are number 6 or 9? Seventh, okay. In, yeah, okay. We're ninth in a number of areas of serviced with Allegiant in the 107 airports that they fly in and out of. So I don't think that's bad. And we continue to keep good dialogue with Allegiant folks, and hopefully we can continue exceptional service with them in and out of Hagerstown. And again, thanks to Phil's leadership and his tenacity, making sure things are run well, and good management out at the airport. So thank you, Phil, and thanks also to Peggy for all that she does. Thank you.
October 12th, if you want to use the word anniversary, was the anniversary of the attack on USS Cole in Washington County. Had 2 residents, Craig Witterly and Patrick Roy, who lost their lives on that day, with one gifted another of our Navy men on that. So prayers and thoughts go out to those families and all, and honor all our troops everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. And for myself, I don't have anything to report on. Staff comments. We have any staff in the chambers care to provide a report? Mr. Eichelberger. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rich Eichelberger, Director of Construction. Just want to give a brief update on some drainage service complaints, and I believe a lot of those the Commissioners actually see and hear about. Sometimes they're actually filed with the Commissioners and then comes to our office. So just wanted to give you a brief update on those. We've had an overabundance of those this year, and just to show where we are with those, last year I ran 2 different reports, one for last year from the beginning of January up until the middle of last week. In the year 2017, we fielded 43 drainage style complaints. Could have been just typical drainage, stormwater, whatever. For the same period this year was 192. That's almost a 450% increase, which means that's why there's been some delay, maybe with actually making site visits, and we've been telling people that we're still sticking with our 24-hour contact to try to let them know that we've heard their comment or their complaints, conditions, whatever it might be, and that we'll be visiting the site hopefully within a week. You know, our administrative assistant, Cammie Gordon, and along with, in some cases, Scott's admin, Monica Lindsay, they're the ones who get it first, and so they're dealing with it right off the bat, setting the service requests up. We have 3 inspectors who cover those, and from July until actually the first part of this week, we were actually down to 2 because Kristen was out. She's now back, so hopefully that'll help alleviate some of these log jams. But the other thing is that along with those this year, we're seeing a bigger increase of not just the standard drainage complaint where our inspector can go out, evaluate it, maybe get with the highways department, and it's a small issue. Some of these are getting much bigger and larger, and so Scott Hobbs and the engineering staff is being engaged more this year for some of the services they may need. We rely on the highways department a lot of times to try to help with these things as well. So it's not just our folks looking at it, but it is others as well. And we're staying diligent, whether it's our group or any of the other ones, to try to keep on top of these and get these things worked through. But some of these are going to end up being long-term goals, it looks like. But just wanted the commissioners to know that we are staying on top of them. We're trying to work through them as quickly as possible. But unfortunately this year, with the sheer number that we have, site visits are taking most times a couple days to a week instead of the next day like we typically try to do. So, okay. I don't know the exact number, but that's pretty close. Well, it's the staff that handles it. I mean, you know, they really, they own these things. They go out, they take a look at them. And whether it's an overabundance of these or whatever, I mean, every job that we do is, they take it as serious as the next one, so.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you, Mr. Eichelberg, for the update. Have any other staff there in the chambers care to provide a report? Okay, county attorney issues? Mr. Hovis, Mr. Slocum?
I do. On Thursday, two of the commissioners, Commissioner Kiefer, Commissioner Baker, you met with Trammell Crow and representatives. John was there. Host of staff was there to try to make sure that at the state level, various concerns and considerations were addressed. And I'm happy to report as of yesterday, it looks like we will have had those addressed. And very exciting. It's been a mutual effort with Scott's office, Tim Lung's office, Danielle's office, and Susan's office that, along with others, that Trammell Crow looks like will definitely be there with us today to celebrate in the Making Connections campaign. So that's a very exciting, it's the first of 4, and it's a trend that we're going to set with economic development moving forward. Very excited about that. In the theme of economic development, I'd like to ask that Susan Small be considered for Director of Business Development. I don't know if that requires a approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second for that approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Congratulations.
5-0. Congratulations. Keep up the great work.
Susan has served in the role as interim for a number of weeks now, probably in fact months. They've gone by pretty quickly. A fantastic job. She has some excellent ideas, and just as importantly, an incredible amount of enthusiasm. I know you've already had to meet and make a number of meetings with various business leaders in the community. And it's not just recruit more, but it's also retain those that are here. Treat your own first and foremost as the best.
Rob, can you comment a little bit on the selection committee and the panel and the members who took part in that? Because I thought that was
That's a very good point.
very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. So, because we did want the community's buy-in, the business community's buy-in, Michael Ryka, the chair of the EDC, was invited to be on the panel, and Paul Fry of the Chamber of Commerce was also invited. So they were involved in all the interviews and have been apprised of all the discussion in a second interview with Susan, and we're completely on board with the position. More importantly, the discussions throughout the interviews before and after with both of them was very helpful to us getting to understand business better, where they would like to go. Really a lot more synergy came out of that, just that interview process alone, as well as Jim was involved in that panel as well. So we had complete consensus with Susan's application that she was #1 candidate. So very exciting. Congratulations, Susan. Very busy in that, as it was mentioned, that Phil Ridenauer will be retiring, and first and foremost, what a wonderful job Phil has done with the airport. I've always marveled, and I'm going to take a minute or so, I hope that's okay with the commissioners, to acknowledge Phil's duties. Yes. Phil, as I observed him as a fellow employee for about 17 years, moving up through the ranks, and I remember sitting upstairs when Phil was determined to be the next director of airport, and saw the excitement in his face as he took over the reins from Carolyn. And we were just recently on a visit from Senator Van Hollen, and Phil's ability to do things from help with baggage to entertain and host officials at the highest level was something that I've not only...
Definition of baggage.
I think TSA approved baggage, right? Is that right, Phil? Only the stuff that the TSA said could go. Not only did I commend him, but I also try to learn from his ability to cover such a wide array of responsibilities. So with that, Phil, as an airport director, and Jim, who is here also, the director of public works, we're on an interview panel with Jim and I, and we interviewed a host of candidates, but very knowledgeable, many of them. I'd like to recommend Mr. Garrison Plessinger as the director of airport, and I do believe, Phil, Jim, please speak up. That was with entirely consensus among the interview panel that Mr. Plessinger be recommended. So.
Okay, so we'll need a motion on that.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
We will have a very busy day with the Making Connections campaign out in the field. However, we will be getting a great deal of information on Mr. Plessinger and Ms. Small out to the media through Danielle's office. We're very proud to have both of them. And finally, I'd like to ask the commissioners to consider Ms. Stephanie LaPole for the senior grant manager position. And that is at a grade 13, and it's currently a vacant position.
I don't think we need a motion for that one.
Yeah, it's below a 14. I don't. So, yeah, but I did want to recognize Ms. Small. Don't think she's. Stephanie. I'm sorry, Stephanie LaPole. Yes, yes. Okay, yeah. So she's upstairs and.
Watching, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, Stephanie. I worked with Stephanie in Rich's office, actually down at 80 West Baltimore Street. So we go back a number of years, and very proud of her and what she's accomplished there.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, boards and commissions.
We have two. We have the Washington County Ethics Commission. They are requesting to reappoint Mr. Alan Levin to serve a first full 3-year term through September 30th of 2021, and to reappoint Dr. Emmett Burke to serve his 4th 3-year term from October 1st through September 30th of 2021.
So moved.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Next one.
For the Housing Authority of Washington County, they are looking to reappoint Reverend Stanley Steele to serve an additional 5-year term from October 1st, 2018 through September 30th of 2023. This would be his second term.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, last chance for county staff comment. Good morning.
I'll be very brief. Just wanted to make you aware of a hotel rental tax fund award that was made to the Crumpy's Donut Drop in the amount of $5,000. The event does meet all 7 funding goals of the program. This year's attendance is expected to be 7,000 people. The event brings national recognition to Hagerstown and promotes spending in the downtown business area. The HRT fund has historically funded this event. The event this year will be December 31st, 2018 at the Public Square, and it will start at 5 o'clock. This is for awareness and reporting. There's no voting necessary.
Thank you. Okay, last chance, citizens or commission staff report. County attorney issues.
I do have one thing. It was buried underneath all my things. As you may recall, back in the spring, this board approved the terms of a lease agreement for a new hangar built out at the airport by RGC Hangar 17A. At that time, the county also approved the exemption of the real property taxes relating to that building. And once that building is built, that will be the property of the county. So The lease has now been signed, and the ordinance has been prepared to exempt that building from real property taxes. So I have the ordinance for your consideration and approval today.
So moved.
Motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Okay, one last chance. Staff opportunity. Okay, let's move down. We'll come back to citizens' participation. That's at 10:40. Let's do healthcare services delivery contracts written agreement. Mr. Stoner, you have 3 minutes. I know you're fast. At least you used to be.
Used to be. Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having me back. Here to seek comprehensive approval from the county as it relates to healthcare service delivery contracts, basically insurance contracts. The Secretary of the Maryland Department of Health has delegated and designated local health officers on behalf of local health departments as signatory and on health insurance contracts. But there was one caveat in amended legislation that was passed recently that stated, and literally is a sentence, subject to the consent of the governing body of the county and written approval of the secretary. So historically, health officers and health departments have always entered into contracts with health insurance companies. With this caveat, the new process from the state side is that the secretary is to provide written approval to enter contracts over $100,000 per year. So basically what happens, for instance, we have one pending with Aetna health insurance company now. That contract was actually negotiated through the AG's office at the state, but in theory, that contract would be vetted by the Attorney General for the MDH, approved, and then sent back through the my boss, the Department of Public Health under MDH, sent back to me as approved, and they looked through the indemnification language, all that good stuff. But now we also, as health officers, need the consent of the governing body of the county. So I am here today. I spoke with Kirk about this a while ago, and we thought that it was best to come before and present it to the commissioners, should there be any questions, comments, concerns.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Stoner? If none, we'll need a motion to authorize the comprehensive approval.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Stoner.
Thank
Mr.
you.
President, while our health officer is here before us this morning, can I ask another question? We heard here just a little bit ago that there's been a 400% increase in stormwater backups and drainage issues. And I can say on a personal level, as an insulating and thermal and air quality contractor, I'm seeing a tremendous increase in mold and mold-related issues. And I guess my concern to the health department is, as we enter into the flu season compounded with potential molds, are you doing any type of public awareness, PSAs, blah, blah, blah?
We are actually going to start that, especially with flu season coming up. I think actually you guys are doing your flu shots today. I commend you for providing that to staff. But yes, we are going to do that. Tagging on to that, we were expecting to see a pretty significant number of complaints coming in with mold, but I guess knock on linoleum. We actually haven't. Most of ours has been related to groundwater, septic systems failing with the groundwater, contaminated wells, and those sorts of things. But I would expect that the potential for mold complaints coming in will increase. But yes, we are going to do that.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'm seeing a lot of, particularly crawl spaces, people that are unsuspecting, and it's out there with the record amount of rainfall that we've had.
it's been a bad year all around for air quality, mosquito-borne illnesses, the whole nine, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get, before we do citizens' participation, the bid award bulk delivery of road salt. Ms. Noggle and Mr. Plank. Good morning.
This recommendation is for the bid award of PR 1397 for bulk delivery of road salt. We move to award the contract for the purchase and delivery of bulk road responsive bidder of Morton Salt out of Chicago, Illinois, who submitted the bid price of $61.95 per ton. On August 17th, the county issued an invitation to bid to purchase the bulk road salt on an as-need basis. Annually, the county uses approximately 20,000 tons for the snow and ice removal. This recommendation is just for the county's requirements. The city will make its own independent award. The invitation to bid was listed in the local newspaper, the county website, and the e-Maryland Marketplace website. There were 13 companies that downloaded the document, and we did receive 7 bids in. One was a non-bid submittal. Funding is available in this department's operating budget.
Any questions, comments? If none, motion to move forward is recommended.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, citizens' participation. We have any citizens here today care to participate? Any citizens here today care to participate? Seeing none, that concludes citizens' participation unless a citizen walks in and wants to participate. Okay, move down to construction bid award, airport bridge lighting. Mr. Hobbs. Good morning.
Good morning. Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. I'm here to recommend the award, the airport bridge lighting contract to the lowest responsible bidder, Hawkeye Construction of Rosedale, Maryland, in the amount of $269,500, and approve a budget transfer of $109,500 from account BRG 002, the Bridge Inspection Inventory, account $35,000 from EQP 031, the Capital Equipment Airport contract account, and BRG 084, which is the airport bridge lighting. The project was advertised in the Herald Mail, on the county's website, and an email marketplace. 3 bids were received with a low bid of $269,500, which did not include the rebate. There's a potential rebate, which would bring the bid amount down to $213,700. The bids have been evaluated, and the low bid from Hawkeye Construction is in order. The engineer's estimate for this work was $160,000, and the estimated utility rebate for this project is $225 per fixture, working with Potomac Edison through the rebate program for switching from HPS to LED lighting. Lighting is located under the taxiway and runway bridges that cross over US 11 at Pennsylvania Avenue at the Hagerstown Regional Airport. The work involves replacing the 400-watt lighting wall packs with equivalent LEDs to keep in line with the original design and meet roadway lighting standards while saving energy costs. The life for LEDs is 2 to 3 times longer than the lighting for HPS, with typical savings of 60 to 70%. In this case, we're looking for savings per month over $500 with a payback of approximately 9 years. The project also includes adjustment of the lighting controller, configuration and programming, as well as, again, processing those efficiency incentives on behalf of the county through Potomac Edison. The existing bridge lighting was installed over 10 years ago and is in current need of maintenance. This project is a 90-day calendar project starting October 22nd and running through January 19th with liquidated damages in the amount of $100 per day. There will be some maintenance of traffic signs with the work that would be going on. The fiscal impact involves the projects, as I talked about, and budget transfers and the amount of money in the airport bridge lighting contract. This is the most cost-effective and practical alternative based on the bids we received. The existing lighting is in need of maintenance and not as energy efficient as the LED lighting. So with that, if there's any questions.
Any questions, comments? If none, need a motion to move forward as recommended.
Motion to move forward.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
4-1. Okay.
May I ask Scott a quick question while you're I'll call it Funkstown bypass. Looks like they're moving, where's that at right now?
Southern Boulevard.
Southern Boulevard, yeah.
The scheduled contract end dates currently is November 1st. They're working towards that. As we talked about, rain is the topic of conversation the last few weeks. So they're doing their best effort. They've been working through some weekends, but they have some nicer weather to try to move that forward. We were hoping to open up Southern earlier,
Close, yeah.
but we're looking towards that November 1st end date. They still have some work on Frederick Street with some sidewalk work and some tie-in work. So the work may go beyond the contract date, but we're looking for the opening towards that November 1st date for Southern Boulevard. We'll keep everyone apprised in the next couple of weeks.
With the hill and the terrain right there, I was questioning, how that was all going to, we have one in Cumberland that's like this, okay, as far as a roundabout.
Yes.
And it kind of throws you a little bit, but I have to say that's quite smooth.
Yes, it improved site distance there where we tied in. It was a big effort, especially with the utilities having to be relocated. Again, with the weather, hopefully weather permitting again in a couple of weeks, but we'll share the news as we move forward, and we're getting down towards the end of the project.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, any other questions for Mr. Hobbs? Thank you.
Thanks.
Acceptance of dedicated property for Creighton Boulevard Road Extended, Mr. Moser. How are you today?
Good morning, how's everyone?
Good.
All right, Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator, acceptance of dedicated property for Creighton Boulevard Extended. Move to approve the dedicated property for Creighton Boulevard project and to adopt an ordinance approving and accepting said dedication and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. The future extension of Creighton Boulevard involves land dedications as part of the public-private partnership on the project. Perini Industrial Land LLC has agreed to right-of-way dedication of 2.0748 acres, more or less, as identified as parcel 470, 446, and 1027 on the attached right-of-way dedication plat. In addition, Showwater Farm LLC has agreed to right-of-way dedication of 1.4198 acres, more or less, as described as part of parcel 503 on the attached plat.
So all these properties are being donated?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, any questions, comments?
Motion to accept the dedicated property.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
And the dedication is a result of the public-private partnership, so that's where the county saves money and partnering with the private sector on dedication of right-of-way.
Okay, property acquisition and owner relocation for 915 Antietam Drive. Mr. Moser?
Move to approve fee simple property acquisition and relocation cost under the guidelines of the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Act. In addition, adopt an ordinance approving said purchase and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. The county will be acquiring property at 915 Antietam Drive consisting of 0.34 acres and 1,100 square foot dwelling zoned residential for the proposed widening of Eastern Boulevard. Eastern Boulevard will be widened from 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, to 4 lanes from Jefferson Boulevard, Maryland 64 to Antietam Drive, and the construction will occur in several phases of work as indicated in the capital improvement plan. The entire property at 915 Antietam Drive will be acquired to construct the intersection improvements at Eastern Boulevard and Antietam Drive. Since federal funds are involved on the project, the county will be required to adhere to the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Act including providing relocation costs and other expenses. The total cost of acquisition and relocation costs are estimated at $251,300. The cost will include the fee simple purchase price of $160,000, the price differential between the old home and the new home of comparable condition, size, and location up to $25,000, incidental expenses to include closing costs and mortgage fees from $10,000 to $15,000, mortgage interest differential of $16,000 to $20,000, and moving expenses estimated at $31,300. The county expects there to be a several-month period between property acquisition and relocation. For the property owner, the county intends to rent or lease the property to the current property owner until the relocation process has been completed. Any questions on that?
You said includes federal funds. Do you have is there a dollar amount on those federal funds?
I do not have that, Scott.
There's a series of two design grants that we received for the project, one in $95,000 and one of $395,000 that equated to the extended project and phase two, which is, this is the tie-in point at each. So receiving $350 plus the $95, approximately $450,000 of design grants towards this project.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? If none, a motion to move forward is presented.
Motion.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Okay, property acquisition for Showwater Road, or Showwater Extended. Mr. Moser.
Move to approve the agreement of sale to purchase property described as tax map 24 parcel 1180 for fee simple property acquisition, and to adopt an ordinance approving said purchase, and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. The county intends to construct a future extension of Showwater Road. Offers have been made and accepted by the property owner for fee simple purchase of the entire parcel. The county has offered the property owner $25,000 for 0.69 acres in fee simple zoned highway interchange. The project will improve the safety at the intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue and Showwater Road and address access issues to Route 11 for the residents of the manufactured home community.
So any questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Slocum, anything in the afternoon part of the agenda that we could cover this morning?
Yes, certainly. So we can, transfers, I believe Mr. Bradshaw is here. If Phil is here, are you prepared to speak to that item that's in the afternoon agenda? Okay. Do that 3:40 item.
Okay, let's move down to the 3:40 p.m. agenda item, intergovernmental cooperative purchase, Hagerstown Regional Airport virtual perimeter monitoring systems. Ms. Noggle, Mr. Ridenhour, and Mr. Bolanowski. How are you three this morning?
Thanks for taking us early.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being here.
The recommendation is for the intergovernmental cooperative purchase for the Hagerstown Regional Airport virtual perimeter monitoring systems upgrade. We move to authorize by resolution the approval of the purchase and installation, all related hardware, software for the virtual perimeter monitoring systems, along with upgrading the terminal access controls from Skyline Technologies out of Glen Burnie, Maryland, at the contracted price of $130,000. This price is based on a Carroll County contract and is very beneficial to Washington County. The phase of this project is necessary and vital in advancing overall security for the improvement of the project. New cameras are going to be put in locations that were not previously under observation. Funding is available in the department's capital improvement budget, The county is responsible for $32,500, and there is a Maryland Aviation Administration grant in the amount of $97,500.
Is there any questions on that? If none, we need a motion to
Motion to
approve.
approve.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see, they're not here. Okay, where'd Mr. Slocum get that? Well, we'll go back into closed session and complete what we didn't complete this morning.
That's fine.
We have Mr. Hayes is on his way, and Ms. Small to cover the next two items as well. I believe Ms. Small is in the building and will be over shortly.
No recess, I'll never get you back. Mr. Slocum, on the flu shots today, do you know the time frame or anything like that?
I believe that's upstairs, and I can get those for you, yes.
I'm not taking one, but the other commissioners.
10 to 11:30.
I've taken one flu shot in my life, and that's when I was in college, and I was sick for 6 months.
That averages out. Bundle.
Yes.
Okay, you're going to, yes, we're going to do Susan. Okay, so we're going to do the work-ready communities. Ms. Small, how are you today? Again, congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, Teresa Schenk, Director of Continuing Education, was going to present with me at 4 o'clock today, but I think we've talked about this a few times. So I'm Susan Small, business leader, now Director of Department of Business Development. And I'm here to recommend the approval for the resolution for the endorsement of the ACT Work Ready Communities program. It's an initiative that includes support of the ACT Work Ready Communities Boot Camp, which we are putting a team of folks together from around the community to support this and attend in November. The effort will be a collaboration between Washington County Public Schools, Washington County Chamber of Commerce, and the Hagerstown Community College. By participating in the ACT Work Ready Community Initiative, we can both identify skill gaps and qualify the skill level of our workforce for our employment. This helps educators build career pathways aligned to the needs of the business industry, as well as help our community stand out and be recognized for workforce development efforts. The ACT Work Ready community empowers states and regions and counties with data, processes, and tools that drive economic growth. So we'll be able to measure, close the skills gap by building a common framework that align both what our employers are looking for and what our school systems can provide. And by recognizing the program, employers will have a more qualified workforce to fill the gap. The boot camp, which is, as I mentioned, the first week in November, is going to provide guidance on the development and implementation of the program through the framework models that they provide, as well as by assisting the community in establishing the integrated approach for the work-ready community. So today's resolution is approving your
your support of that ACT Work Ready Community Program.
Very good. Any questions, comments, commissioners? If none, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, approve the resolution for endorsement. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I saw Mark Bradshaw arrive, so we want to go to the flow transfer up to the 3 p.m. Agenda item, flow transfer agreements, Construction Reserve Fund. Mr. Bradshaw, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing this morning,
Good,
Commissioners?
Good.
Back in 2003, the city and the county entered into a flow transfer agreement. And part of that flow transfer agreement created what was called a construction reserve fund, where we would collect an additional fee for people or customers that were located in the joint service area. And those construction reserve funds were collected by the county, and per the agreement, they were to be used for a mutually beneficial project. And if no such project was ever done after 10 years, it did have a sunset clause that said the proceeds in that account could be split and divided equally between the city and the county. Currently, there's $643,534.85 in that account at the beginning of April. The city, Mayor Brucci has sent a letter requesting that the city have their portions of the funds issued to them. So I'm here today for a motion to request that the construction reserve funds to be divided equally between the city and the county, and that our portions of the funds then would be put into LIN 040, which is a CIP project labeled as collection system rehab, and we would use that then to do I&I work on our system in the north end.
And
This is per language in the agreement.
Yes, there is a section in the agreement. John's looked over the agreement some time ago that said after 10 years, the funds could be divided equally. And Mayor Brucci letter references that section of the document also.
okay, any other questions, comments?
Okay with it?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, that's how the agreement's written, and if both parties agree that this is what the parties agreed to at the time they entered into the agreement, that if at this time, if nothing happened.
If after 10 years, a mutual project cannot agreed upon, then the funds could be divided equally between the two parties.
And I think when you brought it before, I think this board wanted to hear from the city.
Correct.
The city has now written to the county and said, yes, we'd like the money to be split, so.
Correct.
So what amount will the city receive and what amount will we receive? Is it half
The
of
total amount in the
650?
fund at the beginning of October was $643,534.85. So that would be divided equally, so $321 and some change.
Dollars or thousands of dollars?
Thousands of dollars.
Okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
5-0. Thank you. You did say that Mr. Hayes is
He is. He is, and
within minutes,
most likely, yes, sir. And
seconds,
if you'd like, we can
9, 8, 7.
we can go on to Cascade. That's a very simple presentation.
I didn't. Okay.
By Mr. Sterling.
Okay, and that's which timeline there?
And then would you get Susan?
That's the 310.
Yes.
Okay. So Cascade Isaac Holdings LLC offer rescinded. Mr. Sterling. Hello, how's Mr. Sterling?
Good morning. How's everybody?
Good.
The county's agent with regard to development of Cascade, JG Business International, advised us of a request to amend the September 6, 2018 agreement of sale on October 1st, 2018. JGBLI advised on October 2nd that the purchase offer has been canceled. In the October 1st, 2018 letter, JGBLI had requested 2 amendments to the agreement. First, the remaining balance of the deposit upon the property
be made Tuesday, October 16th, rather than October 1st, 2018. And secondly, the settlement date be on or before December 31st, 2018, rather than October 30th, 2018. In the October 1st, 2018 letter conveyed October 2nd by JGBLI, Isaac Holdings LLC, advised that Isaac will not be able to continue forward with the sale. The proposed amendment would have simply postponed the deposit and transaction. The cancellation of the sale will require Isaac to forfeit $200,000 and return the property to the market.
Okay. Any questions on that to Mr. Sterling? Any thoughts, comments? Okay, that was just a report. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So while Mr. Hayes, we wait for Mr. Hayes, because I believe if I'm keeping up to speed, that's the only other than the other two cascade items, that's the only other afternoon item that we have. Ms. Small is here. She and I can present to you the next item on your agenda, and I believe that's the 320 item.
Okay, let's go to the 3:20 p.m. Agenda item, Fort Ritchie Cascade Plan. Ms. Small and Mr. Slocum.
And in all fairness to JGBLI, they most likely would have been here prepared to discuss. Should the commissioners have any questions, we can certainly convey those to them or ask them to come back next week, whatever the board prefers. But in the interest of time, it's also, staff is here and prepared to present the information.
You're thinking we're going to have some people here. Maybe you could get a hold of them and tell them we're going to present that a little earlier than 3:20.
One thought maybe, I have been communicating that we're ahead of schedule. They're currently not available. They're not in town right now.
Also, they're not going to be available.
That would take, they're not in town right now. What we could do, if you wish, is proceed with the staff's presentation. If there are questions, we could perhaps take those later, or we could bring those back to you next week to have them here. It's up to you.
Commissioners okay with that? Yes. Mr. Kiefer?
I'm okay either way.
Mr. Barr?
Same.
If it doesn't count, already up to 3 commissioners that want to move forward.
Yeah. Wait for, okay.
And I do too.
Okay.
Okay, the Fort Ritchie Cascade Plan, Ms. Small and Mr. Slocum.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
As Rob said, we're here to present the Cascade Plan as staff has gathered some information to share with you, but it is pending consideration and your direction, of course. So as you know, the recent offer for the purchase of Fort Ritchie was rescinded, and another offer has been received. All 3 commissioner staff and the county's agent have spent numerous hours and much time and staff invested heavily in the success of the Fort Ritchie Cascade project. So we feel like the experience of all of those above and the feedback has some valuable insight to offer. We've assembled a potential plan to solicit to you and offer some options to vet the offers on the table with your consideration that may address the aggressive nature needed to market Fort Ritchie. But of course, as with any plan moving forward, background knowledge is where it's most helpful. So first, we just want to point out that it's imperative that JGBLI, who is our agent, is recognized as an established under our Master Developer Agreement of 2016, and it's also necessary to recognize that the agent now owns the approximately 63 acres of land surrounded by the remainder of the site. Second, the site, whether whole or in part, is now not listed for sale on a multiple listing service or MRIS service. And I can say as a real estate agent with some experience in that, we've had some success listing some of the properties that we've had recently with the three school sites, and it is important to market them appropriately. And I just wanted to point out that, we involved a licensed real estate agent to do that, and she took advantage of some of the services available to do that. Rob, do you want to?
Sure. So with the transition of the Economic Development Committee, which is now transitioning to an Economic Development Coalition, met as recently as yesterday. In last week's non-meeting, it was suggested by two commissioners that were here that the EDC be involved. That is the third item here for the commissioners' consideration. Certainly, knowing the EDC, this is not something that we would simply throw to them and they would solve the resolution. However, there may be a representative with a great deal of knowledge that might be available and helpful for the project. If the commissioners so wished, we could approach the EDC, and I think that was the recommendation last week. Fourth, the Fort Ritchie Community Center has a great deal vested and invested in Fort Ritchie, and there are representatives up there that may be interested in sharing, both knowing what the current status is and in sharing information, and also hearing from the community that walks through the doors of that community center on a regular basis. Finally, Penmar Development, or not quite finally, Penmar Development Corporation was established in '97. They have a great deal of institutional knowledge of the site. They may have a representative that wishes to provide some insight onto that in background for the commissioner's consideration, as well as consideration of the master developer. And finally, several county staff members, and this is one of the major causes for bringing this before you, is that with the pending retirement of Jim Sterling, who has been over to Korea, who has been involved day, night, weekends, probably holidays, will be transitioning out because of his retirement. So we will be transitioning in Ms. Small, who is responsible for economic development. But that's not to say that a great deal of staff won't be involved. Up to this point already, plan review and permitting has been on standby and been involved in this project. Which Mr. Eichelberger's Office of Construction has been involved. Scott Hobbs with GIS and other engineering background, land acquisition. Todd is still here, has been involved when we were taking the property to sale. So it takes a complete team of staff to be involved and ready at a moment's notice, which they all have been already. So the significant shift here would be going from Public Works to Susan's Office of Business Development. That will happen regardless, unless there are other ideas the commissioners would like to address. And the new director of Public Works, whomever that would be, will still need to remain involved. And the institutional knowledge that Jim has, it's a very complex site. It's not just 500 acres of land. There is also a water utility, as well as other utilities on that site that need consideration in the best interest of proceeding to grow and develop Cascade. So with that, while we don't intend whatsoever in this meeting to go into process details, other than there is a process in place should the commissioners wish to learn more, any questions you may have from us, for us about that process, be glad to answer them.
Is there any questions, comments?
About the plan?
Exactly, yes.
I like the idea of going national with advertising and seeing the interest that's out there. I don't really think that's been done properly. I guess my question is, we, in 16, we signed an agreement with a master developer. And if I can put that in the terms of real estate agents, I mean, I would have thought that was their job. Not that I am even suggesting that they've done what I thought they should have done by now. But I guess the question is, if we're going that route, which I'm glad we're doing, if we go that route, then I think, and I'll defer to John here, according to our agreement, they have to be part of the approval of something that we have. If a local developer, even someone like Mr. Rao comes along and wants to purchase and has a plan for development, is it not true that JBGLI has kind of a sign-off on that?
It depends on what it is. They do have an approval. They are our exclusive agent to market this property. That's what the agreement says. So as soon as that came in, I think we provided all that information to JGBLI.
So I guess I'm backing into it and saying, why aren't we instructing them as our master developer to do just that? Along in conjunction with us, basically getting us to have some type of an agreement with them prior to anyone coming, that they would join us tandemly in moving forward with looking globally.
And I think that's part of what Rob and I are presenting here is the option or the idea that maybe a community partnership with them and some other folks that have been stakeholders in the entire Fort Ritchie project from beginning, from previous to now, having those folks maybe help or sort of be a part of and assist and market aggressively with them, because there are, in addition to the master developer agreement, I think there was an attachment for you to look on here. We have the 11 points that are made in the master developer agreement, but then there's some additional things that break down what the definition of financial strength is for anyone that has an interest in the property. There's things that the county is going to ask for, records, and I mean, you can see there's a number of things, documentation that they're going to need to provide. So having the parties that are familiar with the property itself, but also JGBLI, as well as county representation from a staff level, from, we presented 5 or 6 different sort of examples of folks that could sit at that table to help move it aggressively. Yeah, so I think that's sort of the idea behind what our proposal is.
I just hate to see us, all the partners except for JBGLI, move forward and come up with a solution for our developer to say, no, it's not a good idea. And that's why I think they got to move forward from the very beginning with us as we vet anyone that comes along.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that starting out here, which is how this reads, is that they too have had a great deal invested in this, and I think their first interest is in seeing this succeed as well. So they are the first party here as a stakeholder that certainly has to be involved in this, and that's the way the master developer agreement is written. We have, since the offer came in last week, we've received a number of questions about the vetting of these, the process, what happens next. This is a remark that says the commissioners that were here asked about the EDC being involved. This is to look at it holistically and say, first and foremost, JGBLI needs to be involved on the current master developer agreement. They're very knowledgeable about the process. They're knowledgeable about the potential prospects and should be involved. There are others that, should the board wish to consider, what we need as staff as direction on, how would you like these to proceed so that we can do this in an orderly fashion, in a very business-like fashion, that we can all work together most productively with JGBLI, with staff, to bring it to you so that you have the best information to move forward with.
I think there's a lot of good information and good ideas here. And I know last week when that outside offer was presented to us, I expressed a hope that maybe someone from the Fort Ridge community be part of the process going forward, and economic development, our new reincarnated economic development coalition be part of that as well. I think when we look at, if something does come to fruition, it could very well be one of the largest economic development projects in our county in quite some time. And to not engage leaders in our community that are business-minded, that we've identified, have some wherewithal about them when it comes to economic development, so much to the point that we've brought them into our coalition. I think it's a little foolish on our part if we don't include them. That doesn't mean JGBLI doesn't have a part. Just it helps bring about more cooperation with more entities in the group. I think it could be a good thing. One thing I heard from a resident in the Cascade area who was very concerned about the original offer that didn't materialize is a lack of, for example, the parade grounds wouldn't be available, would likely not be available. And, that's something that, granted, I hadn't thought about. But it took a resident, someone of that community, to remind us that, they have a vested interest in the project, even more so, to a greater degree. This is their backyard, not my backyard. So I think this idea, some ideas that were presented here, I think is a great idea. It doesn't take JGBLI out of the picture, but it does add a few more stakeholders. I think we're reminded that this is a big project that affects many different people, not just developers, not just the tax coffers. But I like it. I like the concept of bringing these folks, these additional people to the table. I think it's a good thing.
It's simply for the board's consideration based on what commissioners have suggested as recently as last week. It'll need to be decided which of these, whether it's simply JG or it's others, we'll need to have your say on that moving forward. And then I trust staff, we can develop the partnership among those representatives and bring back before you pertinent information. One of the first duties would be to investigate the financial strength and the other viability of the offer that was just made. We need to do a great deal of work to check that out. And JG has a great deal of experience in that, so we need to involve them in that process entirely. In fact, they may be the lead in most of this process, and which I think, John, would be consistent with the MDA. So that's where we are.
That's how it's set up, is how those things are supposed to flow. So that's how we've been doing it the past week.
And that's something from square one. If John's very familiar with the MDA, if anything is out of turn with that, we certainly look to be consistent with the MDA, because that is a binding agreement that we must acknowledge and, in fact, benefit from.
So what do you want out of us today?
Some direction as far as how you would like us to proceed, whether that is simply as we have in the past or something different of a partnership. That's simply bringing back information from what has been heard.
So you'll take this information and then present it to JGBLI and say this is what our commissioners want us to work towards.
We will bring back to JGBLI with what you would like to see, what your direction is. Yes.
I think everything that you have here in this ARF is right on target in the direction that we should be headed.
I do too.
Okay. Well, certainly, as a major landowner and part of the MDA, they will be involved from square one. We'll be in communication with them first as to how to move forward.
I support this concept, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And before Susan sits down to transition, this is simply for the matter of public record. It was asked to be brought before you again this week. With what I've just heard, if I'm not mistaken, we will bring this to JG. We will work very closely with JG. We will use their support, their experience and resources, along with some others that are listed on the previous page for a partnership and try to bring to you a vetted proposal to meet the criteria that are listed on the second page, Cascade Town Center Buyer Plan and Profile. If this is the Commissioner's desire to have that profile, which is items 1 through 11 are completely consistent with the MDA that's in place. Items A through F simply go into further detail on financial strength. What I do need to say is that a great deal of resources are used in vetting these and getting these to this point. So what we'd like to do is be absolutely sure we have a worthwhile prospect before we get too many resources involved. And I think staff, with your direction with JBLI, can do that most efficiently.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr., you wanted, we're going to do the offer now, or is that Mr. Hayes?
I believe we just did the offer, which is basically we will take it, review it, and bring it back as to what that is.
Okay, consideration for inclusion of Hagerstown Fire Department in the testing of ladders, aerial hose, and pumps, aerials, hose, and pumps. Mr. Hayes and Mr. Hart. How are you two this morning?
I'm doing well. Good morning. It is still morning, right? It is. So David Hayes, Director of Emergency Services.
John Hart, Assistant Director of Fire Operations.
And we're here to ask the commissioners to include or consider the inclusion of the Hagerstown Fire Department in our testing of ladders, aerials, hose, and pumps. That is a program that was funded in our operating budget in FY 2017 and has continued to be funded in FY 18. The motion that we would ask the commissioners to consider is to move to approve the use of budgeted funds for the inclusion of the Hagerstown Fire Department HFD apparatus and equipment and annual aerial ladder, pump, and hose testing with the various vendors currently providing those services to the county under the previous established contracts. The report in brief, Washington County currently provides annual ladder, pump, and hose testing service through established contracts delivered through 3 different vendors. Those services are provided to all fire apparatus, which is basically engines, trucks, rescue squads in the county, with the exception of the Hagerstown Fire Department. And just for some historical significance, most of our programs haven't included the Hagerstown Fire Department's apparatus as examples, maintenance contracts, fuel contracts, and likewise. Under this proposal, the county would agree to fund these testing procedures for HFD's apparatus and equipment. That would entail 7 engines, 3 ladder trucks, 32,000 feet of firefighting hose, 1,078 feet of ground ladders, provided these services are delivered under the county contract. These services will be provided at the prices per unit in the current contract. And the fiscal impact of this, we expect to be less than $14,000 to procure these services, and they'd be covered within our $90,000 that is budgeted in the FY19 budget, and that's in our budget 11,525 maintenance contracted services. So we're not asking for additional budgeted money. It would be covered out of our existing funds. And again, we're asking you to approve the inclusion of the Hagerstown Fire Department in our ladder pump and hose testing program.
Okay, so any questions, comments on that recommendation?
Spirit of cooperation is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. We heard the directive several months ago from the commissioners to look for opportunities for collaboration and cooperation. I think this produces a strong opportunity for that and a limited impact, and certainly just encumbers existing budgets.
Okay, if none, we need a motion to, no further discussion.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second for the recommended motion. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I've covered everything